Hey guys! Welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial is going to be an in-depth contour, blush, and highlight routine. And my first video that I ever posted on YouTube was a contour, blush, and highlight video. And I only did powders in that video, and it's also just super bad quality. It's really far away, so you guys can't really see what I'm doing. So I thought it was time to update it. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to achieve that Kim Kardashian contour and highlight that all of us love. And I'm going to show you how to do it with using cream products and powder products. And also how to apply your blush and your highlight to just make those features stand out even more and just give more dimension to your face. So if you'd like to see how I do it, then just keep on watching. So to start off, I've already applied a light layer of foundation to my face. Whenever you're doing a lot of contour and highlight with cream products, I suggest doing a lighter layer of foundation than you usually would, and I like to use a light to medium coverage since you're going to be layering so many things on top of it. So we're starting with highlighting, and highlighting is going to keep things looking bright and more prominent once we add the contour on top. And you want to keep the light shades in about a triangle in the center of your face, and you want to use a shade that is around 1 to 2 shades lighter than your natural skin tone. And I start with my under eye circles, which you guys can see that I have them pretty badly. So I layered 2 products for mine. If you don't have dark under eye circles, you don't have to do the first step, but I'm going in with my Maybelline Age Rewind in the shade Brightener, and this is a salmon-based concealer, so it's going to counteract the blue and green tones we have under our eyes. And then I go in with my MAC Prolong Wear Concealer. This is a very high coverage concealer, and it is the only concealer that I've ever used that does not crease under my eyes. If you guys have one that you just absolutely love that doesn't crease, then go ahead and let me know in the comments below. So to start on my under eyes, I went ahead and showed you guys on this one. I took the Brightener shade and I like to bring it really close to my nose on the inner corner just because you naturally have a lot of shadowing there, which can make your eyes look tired. So make sure you bring it up to your nose and then drag it out towards your temple and down towards the side of your nose again, and it makes kind of an upside down triangle, and this is going to keep everything looking really bright and lifted. So I just add that one. If you don't have the dark under eye circles, then go ahead and skip it. Now I'm going in with my MAC Prolong Wear, and I'm just applying it in the same areas, and this is very pigmented, so you don't have to use that much of it. A little bit goes a long way. So there's our under eyes, and let's move on to the rest of our highlighting. 2 drugstore concealers that I love to use for highlighting are the NYX HD Concealer and the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. I love both of these. They're nice creamy formulas, and I think they do the same as my Light Boost from MAC. They're just a lot more affordable. So I'm going to use the HD one from NYX, and this is in the shade Fair, which is again about 2 shades lighter than my natural skin tone. And I'm just going to highlight on my chin, on the corners of my mouth where you can naturally get some darkness, around the sides of my nose, down the bridge of my nose, and then I kind of make a tree on my forehead. I also like to highlight from the side of my mouth back towards about the middle of my ear, and this is going to make our contour really stand out once we do that. So for my contour, I'm going in with Sonia Kashuk's cream bronzer, and you could use a cream bronzer for this. You could use a foundation, or you could use like the stick foundations are a really great option if you are just starting out, but you want to go 2 shades darker than your natural skin tone. So 2 shades darker for contouring and 2 shades lighter for highlighting. I really can't take myself seriously right now looking in this viewfinder to see what I'm doing, but I'm going in with this Real Techniques pointed foundation brush for this, and it's just nice and flat and pretty precise. So I'm just going to go ahead and start contouring. I always start with my cheekbones, so go about the top of your ear, and you want to go in an angle towards the corner of your mouth. And you want to make it widest back here and then naturally taper towards the side of your mouth. Next, I go onto my forehead, and this just depends on you and your forehead and what you want. If you have a larger forehead, you could do the whole sides, and if you have a smaller forehead, then you can go ahead and just skip this altogether. I think mine's kind of in between, so I just do a little bit right on the very top corners of my forehead. Then I like to go along my jawline, and underneath my chin. If you have a double chin, you can hide it that way. Then I go just on the corners of my chin just to make that stand out a little bit more. Now I'm going to contour my nose. This is something that I've never done before until I had my second pregnancy, and it was, I think, 3 days before I had my Belle, and I just looked in the mirror and my nose was so huge, and I said, I have to do something about this. So I contoured my nose for the first time then, and she's only 21 months. So it wasn't that long ago that I started doing this, and I don't do it on a daily basis, but when I do, I can just tell such a difference. It makes my nose look slimmer and just brings more definition to the center of my face. So when you do this, you want to use something that is precise like this. You don't want to be going in with a really huge brush, or it's just going to make it look really muddy and messy. So I go in and I go right at the start of my eyebrow, and then I follow just the natural bridge of my nose. And I like to taper it just a little bit towards the end, and then add just a little bit on the very tip. So now that we look like we have a war paint face on, we're going to go in and blend. And I like to blend my highlight with a damp beauty blender, and I always do this first just because I don't want to dilute the highlight that we have going on when we start blending the darker shade for our contour. So just blend all the places that you have the lightness. Blend out the contour, I'm going in with this small Real Technique stippling brush. I like to use something smaller like this because I don't want to use a huge brush and then distribute that bronzer all over the place and then just totally defeat the purpose of our contour. So I just go in and use really small circular motions because you don't want to spread this too far, but you want to blend that in with your highlight shade. And when you're blending, make sure you go right up into your hairline. And you could stop with blending your contour and have a really nice natural looking contour and highlight, but I am going to show you guys how to take this even farther and do the blush and the highlight and the whole face to make it look really put together. So when it comes to blending out my nose contour when I'm using creams, sometimes it just kind of spreads all over the place and then I just end up looking like I have a really brown nose. So I like to use either the small point on my beauty blender or a smaller brush just to blend that out so I can be a little bit more precise with it. So I'm just going to use that pointy end of our beauty blender to blend that out. And when you're blending on your nose, you want to make sure that you blend outwards instead of inwards so you don't cover up the highlight that we have on the bridge, because that's what's really going to lift your nose and make it look more prominent. So go ahead and blend that out. So now that all of those cream products are nice and blended out, it's time to go ahead and set them. You don't want to do all of this work and it end up just creasing throughout the day or moving and turning into a mess. So I'm going in and setting my under eyes first with a tapered highlighter from Sigma and the Pro Sculpting Powder from MAC in the shade Emphasize. This is great if you are fair to medium skin tone. If you're medium to dark, I would say go in with a more banana shade. That's going to help really emphasize under your eyes and keep everything looking nice and bright. So I'm just gonna go in with this and tap this under my eyes because you don't wanna do a sweeping motion. That's just gonna disturb all of that work that we did earlier. So just tap this, make sure you get it in the very inner corner and pat it out towards your temple. To set the rest of my face, I'm just going in with the translucent powder from Rimmel and my F20 from Sigma. It's just a really big fluffy brush, and I'm just going to pat this all over the rest of my face. So now now it's time to go in and set that bronzer. And my favorite bronzer to use is the Benefit Hoola, because you don't want to use something that's too orange based. You want something a little bit with a little gray undertone because you are trying to create shadows on your face. So I'm going to use that in my Real Techniques contour brush. You want to use something that is small and can get in the contours of your face really easily. So I really love this brush for that. So I'm just gonna go in and add this to all the areas where we added our cream contour before. So in the hollows of my cheeks, along my jawline, a little bit on the side of my chin, along my temples, So to contour my nose, I usually don't do the cream contour. I just go in with this bronzer and this little contour brush from e.l.f. I love this brush for it because it's nice and small, and it is kind of more of a dense brush, so you have to be really careful when you're applying the bronzer so you don't have too heavy of a hand. So I like to hold it towards the end of the brush just because that applies less pressure whenever you're doing that. So once again, just go towards the beginning of your eyebrow and then blend it down the bridge of your nose and then along the tip. So now that my highlight and contour is all finished, you can just see how much dimension it gives to my face and how much slimmer my face looks in general, which is always a plus for me. So now it is time for blush, one of my favorite steps when doing my makeup. And I'm going in with MAC's Melba and this F15 brush from Sigma. And when you apply your blush, you want to start at the arch of your eyebrow and then move back. So where you put your brush down first is going to have the most pigmentation. So go ahead and tap it down right there, and that's generally in the area of your apples, but you don't want to bring that in any further towards your nose because that can just bring your face in and just makes your face look wider and defeats the whole purpose of all the steps that we've done before this. So just go towards the arch of your eyebrow and work that product back towards your hairline. And this is just going to sit right on top of that contour that we just created. And pretty much every time I get done doing my blush, I like to just go in with my powder brush and just go right over those edges so nothing looks too harsh and everything looks nice and blended. So our last step is highlighting, another one of my favorite steps during my makeup routine. And I'm going in with Mary Luminizer from The Balm and an F25 brush from Sigma. This is just going to make things look even more prominent and just bring a lot of attention to certain areas on your face. So I like to do this to the very high points of my cheekbones. So just where it sticks up right around your orbital bone, just go ahead and brush that right on there. And then you can even take this up around the side of your eye if you want to. And you can just see how that catches the light and makes my cheekbones look even more lifted. And I like to bring just a tiny bit along the bridge of my nose. And if you want to make your nose look a little bit more pointed and more prominent towards the bottom, you can just add a little bit right there, and it's going to make that contour that we did earlier stand out even more. Then I like to take a little bit on my ring finger and just go over my Cupid's bow. And this is going to make your upper lip just look a little bit fuller. And that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. You can just tell such a big difference from the beginning to now, how much more dimension I have to my face and how much more sculpted it looks. I love to do this if I'm having photos taken or I know that I'm going to a special event. So if you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!